everyone, welcome to my first video here on my YouTube channel. My name is Alyssa and we'll be talking all things true crime related. Now, the purpose of this channel is to make sure that the victims in these cases are not forgotten, because in the end, they matter. So today's case really stuck out to me because I was actually attending the university that takes place in this case at the time this place occurred, and I even knew one of the bartenders that is shown on the video surveillance who was serving the two individuals in this case. So today I'm going to be talking about the case of Jackie Vandagriff, a Texas woman university student whose life was tragically cut short back in 2016. Unfortunately, just a casual night looking for a job at some local bars turns into a horrific nightmare. This completely shocked the community and those who knew Jackie. Jacqueline Ray Vandagriff, also known as Jackie, was born on March 4th, 1992 in Carlton, Texas, but grew up in Frisco, which is part of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. She was the youngest of two daughters to Rick and Sonia Vandagriff, and growing up, Jackie was seen as a kinetic child where she would learn to do somersaults before walking. At the age of 3, Jackie started gymnastics and ended up competing in the state championship. In later years, she found a love for American history and enjoyed anything related to patriotism, such as the 4th of July, Veterans Day, Memorial Day, presidential election debates, and so on. So it's safe to say that Jackie was proud to be an American and appreciated those who fought for our country. With being a caring, loving, compassionate person, Jackie had a passion to help others achieve their dreams and also extended that compassion to animals by being vegetarian and supporting no-kill shelters. After graduating high school in Frisco, Jackie went on to become a licensed esthetician by attending the Paul Mitchell School of Cosmetology. Afterwards, she wanted to study nutrition, so she later attended the Texas Women's University while seeking a degree in nutrition with an emphasis in wellness. Much like most college students, Jackie enjoyed spending time with friends, but also made sure to visit relatives when possible. So the night of September 13th, 2016, 24-year-old Jackie headed to a local bar in Denton, Texas called Fry Street Public House, ultimately seeking employment. While at the bar, she was met with a man seated 2 chairs away by the name of Charles Bryant. Not knowing one another, Charles struck up a conversation with Jackie, and later the two were seen leaving Public House to go to another bar that was just a short walk down the street called Shots and Crafts. So to kind of set the scene for a second, there's a street right off of the University of North Texas campus called Fry Street. So here you can see the university, and just across the street, there are several bars neighboring one another. So Public House was right here on the corner where they were first seen, then Shots and Crafts was just like a minute walk down the road over here. Also, a chilling fact about this location is I actually lived in the apartments right off of this street, which definitely has me questioning a lot of things, as I was always in the area when this case occurred. Anyway, so after surveillance catches the two leaving the first bar, they are shown on surveillance at a second bar, chit-chatting in what seemed to be a friendly conversation. Unfortunately, upon leaving the bar, this would be the last time that anybody would see Jackie alive. The next day, on September 14th, 2016, a covered and burned body was found near Grapevine Lake, which was about 25 miles south of the bar Jackie was seen at the night prior. The following day, on September 15th, police identified the body as Jackie Vandagriff. So you could just imagine a young college girl just going into some local bars to find a job, living her best life, like she just got into university, pursuing her dreams in nutrition and wellness, goes into a bar, sees a cute guy, starts chatting, and probably isn't thinking much of it. I mean, her friends and her family would describe her to be the social type. And from experience, you meet so many people in college, and unless you get a weird inkling or someone's like, I would watch out for that one, there's really no reason to think someone has wrong intentions. So you may be thinking, who is this Charles guy? Charles Dean Bryant was born on August 8th, 1986, and is from Haslett, Texas, which is about 20 miles north of Fort Worth. At the time of this case, he was 30 years old and was a personal trainer at Procore Fitness, as well as a bartender at the Urban Cowboy Saloon located in Fort Worth. In June of 2016, he meets 18-year-old Caitlin Mathis, who was a student at the University of North Texas, which was the college I was also attending at the time. But not to be too confusing, there's Jackie, who we are primarily talking about in this case, attending Texas Women's University, which is like 2 miles from the University of North Texas where Caitlin is attending. So Caitlin and Charles start dating, and about a month after they start dating, Caitlin starts noticing red flags from Charles that indicated he was manipulative, narcissistic, and controlling. So reasonably so, she ends the relationship pretty short after. As a result, Charles got very angry. He would show up at Caitlin's work, and he was even seen on the University of North Texas campus multiple times unannounced. On September 6th, which would have been their 3-month anniversary, Charles randomly shows up at Caitlin's dorm room unannounced, carrying a bouquet of flowers and a 2-page letter. Terrified, Caitlin hid in her suite mate's closet and called 911. As Charles fled, he was promptly arrested by the university's campus police for a second time. So he had already gotten arrested on stalking charges from Caitlin prior to this incident, and to make matters worse, she never gave Charles her address. But he claimed to police that he saw her name somewhere in the dorm lobby. Look, I've never lived in a dorm personally, but I can't wrap my head around the fact that residents' names and dorm numbers would be posted in the lobby. Because remember, he showed up to Caitlin's door, so he somehow knew her exact room. Caitlin then wrote in an application for a protective order against him, which was granted by the judge immediately. After Charles posted bail, he had the audacity to post a picture of the flowers he brought to Caitlin on his Twitter account with a caption, quote, "Pretty flowers though, right? So much for being a nice guy." Oh, it just really irritates me, but let's keep going. Fortunately, Caitlin would not see Charles as a free man again, but he did not stray far from the campus. 4 days after Charles bonded out of jail on the stalking charge, he made his way just a half a mile from Caitlin's dorm room at Fry Street Public House. Now, earlier that day, Charles found out through his lawyer that he would be facing more jail time in relation to the case against him, so it's safe to assume where Charles's head was at the night he went to the bars that night. This is when he meets Jackie and then commits the horrific acts to follow. Some believe that Jackie was targeted given the resemblance her and Charles's ex-girlfriend Caitlin have in common, where others believe Jackie was just at the wrong time, at the wrong place at the wrong time. Even Texas Ranger James Holland, an expert in high-profile murder cases, stated he believes Charles entered the bar that night on a mission, and even stated that he thinks he was going to end someone's life that night, no matter what. Police quickly uncovered evidence linking Charles to Jackie's murder. Police spoke to women the night that saw Jackie that night at the bars, and one of them even had Charles's business card since he was a fitness instructor. Guess he was just handing them out at the bars. Anyway, in addition, the surveillance footage at the bar showed Charles chatting with Jackie hours before Jackie's death. So now the Grapevine police had Charles Bryan's name, and shortly after, they learned about the restraining order against him, and this immediately showed that Charles was a strong suspect in Jackie's case. According to the arrest affidavit regarding the timeline of events, Jackie and Charles were seen leaving Shots and Crafts around 9:45 p.m., so that's the second bar they're seen at. Roughly 2 hours later, at 11:57 p.m., Jackie's cell phone connects with the tower near US 377 south of Interstate 35 and Fry Street bars. Then at around 1:32 a.m., Jackie's cell phone connects to another tower near Charles's home in northern Fort Worth. At 4:41 a.m., Charles is seen buying a shovel at a local Walmart, in which investigators assume he had intent to bury Jackie's body. There was also surveillance video that captured Charles filling up a gas can at a nearby 7-Eleven. Later, police ended up finding evidence of a hole in Charles's backyard where someone started to dig. A couple hours later, at 6:27 a.m., a 911 caller spotted a fire in Acorn Woods Park near Grapevine Lake. Unfortunately, this is where authorities would find a burned body in a blue kiddie pool. The 911 caller did report that they saw a man standing over the fire and then fled in an SUV. What's also chilling is the social media activity on Jackie's account after her death. About a day after her body was found, a tweet from Jackie's Twitter account posted with, quote, "Never knew I could feel like this," end quote. Reasonably so, officials speculated that the tweet was made from the murderer himself and that the tweet implied that he received some type of thrill from these actions. In addition, Charles tweeted on his own Twitter feed the day Jackie's body was discovered, stating, quote, "Full moon, let's see what trouble I can get into," end quote. Was this trouble including brutally ending an innocent woman's life like he was accused of doing a few nights prior? The days following the murder, Charles ended up violating his restraining order that his ex-girlfriend Caitlin had against him by emailing her over and over again, asking for her to drop the charges and that he still loved her and wanted her back. Also, a shocking discovery is that the day after Charles took Jackie's life, Charles got on Jackie's phone and used it to add Caitlin on Facebook. On September 18th, 5 days after the tragic event, police learned that Charles may have been with Jackie the night that she died. But they didn't have enough evidence to be able to arrest him at that time for Jackie's case, so they ended up arresting him for violating his restraining order from Caitlin's case. The FBI ended up collecting more than 100 items from Charles's home. Upon searching the home, they found a black cloth satchel in a large blue trash bin that had Texas Woman University's name printed on it. The bag matched the one Jackie was seen wearing the night her life ended. In the same trash bin, police uncovered a large white plastic zip tie with blonde hair in the clasp. DNA tests later came back and confirmed it was indeed Jackie's hair. Other items included a possible bone fragment and a large military-style knife that later tested positive for presence of blood. In Charles's backyard, police found a round patch of grass where it appeared a kiddie pool would have recently been. Authorities also searched Charles's car where a cell phone battery believed to be Jackie's was discovered, along with a stun gun that had Jackie's DNA on its electrodes. While investigators were searching Charles's car, Grapevine PD started interrogating Charles. At first, Charles maintained that he had no memory the night of Jackie's death, but when detectives showed Charles a picture of Jackie, he admitted to seeing her at the bar. Then, Grapevine PD confronted Charles of the evidence found at his residence, and Charles had no way to answer for any of it. Eventually, Charles claimed that he must have committed the acts, but stated he had no memory of doing it. This is when police brought in Texas Ranger Jim Holland, who had expertise in interviewing people with this type of personality. At first, Charles kept a story that he didn't remember a thing. Finally, Charles gave in and provided a detailed account of how he disposed of Jackie's body. These details only included the ones that the true suspect could have known. Jim Holland theorized that Charles could not handle his ex-girlfriend's rejection and took revenge on the next woman that he could find. Holland also believes that the crime was a hallmark of a serial killer's first victim. Therefore, he has no doubt that Charles would have continued to cause the death of others if he was not arrested by Grapevine Police Department. Even prosecutor Anna Hernandez thinks Holland is right, that Charles might have been in the midst of more murders planned. After the 6-hour interrogation, Grapevine Police charged Charles with Jackie Vandagriff's murder, whose bail was set to $1 million. On September 22nd, Charles was transferred to the Tarrant County Jail in downtown Fort Worth, where he would await trial. During the trial in April of 2018, so a year and a half after Jackie's death, both sides admitted that Charles committed the acts to Jackie's body, but Charles' defense team claimed he did so after Jackie's accidental death. Defense attorney Glennis McGinty told jurors during closing arguments that Jackie died of asphyxiation after Charles placed a zip tie around her neck during consensual intercourse in Charles's car. Quote, "It was an accident and it caused Brian to panic," end quote. I'm sorry, but even if it was a quote unquote an accident, and burning a body is not normal behavior, in my opinion. McGinty even told reporters in the courtroom that there was no evidence that lines up with murder, but rather argued that Charles was guilty of tampering with evidence. Prosecutors countered the argument, stating that the test the medical examiner completed came back that there was no evidence that Charles and Jackie had a sexual encounter. So Charles claiming that they had consensual intercourse in his car, there's no evidence that even proves that that's correct. The defense knew it was going to be an uphill battle to convince a jury that Charles was not guilty to ending Jackie's life, even though he admitted to disposing of the body. They also knew that most jurors wanted a motive, And as a result, prosecutors Anna Hernandez and Lucas Allen believed there was a direct connection to the stalking of Caitlin Mathis to Jackie's death. They were hoping that the judge would allow Caitlin to testify against her ex-boyfriend in open court. Caitlin, feeling uneasy, agreed to do so, but in the end, the judge ruled against Caitlin being able to tell her story to the jury. So in April of 2018, after 2 hours of deliberation, the Tarrant County jury convicted Charles Bryant in the murder and 24-year-old Jacqueline Vandagriff back in September of 2016. As a result, Charles was sentenced to life, but under Texas law, he could be eligible for parole after 30 years, which would make it 2048. A couple years later, in 2020, Charles requested the court to reconsider his request for early release due to the pandemic that was going on at the time, but his request got denied. His defense counsel ended up filing a second motion arguing that a sentence reduction is warranted based on new evidence, but again, the courts denied his motion entirely. After the verdict was read, Jackie's uncle stated to local news reporters, quote, "What would Jackie say if we could talk to her? We believe she would say, 'Remember me. Remember my hopes and dreams for the future and my plans to get there.'" End quote. Caitlin, Charles's ex-girlfriend, never imagined that he was capable of ending a life, but continues to struggle with the guilt that she couldn't warn Jackie, a woman she didn't know, about Charles's troubling behavior before it was too late. So this case brings up so many questions for me personally, as I was attending the University of North Texas at the time these events occurred. Like, did I ever run into Charles or speak to him even? At least for me, I met so many people when I was in college. So this case is just so disturbing to me. I think that the one thing that can be taken from this case is just to keep in mind you never know someone's intentions, so please, please, please be careful out there. Jackie's family has endowed an internship in health and wellness at the Texas Women's University in her name. The university stated, quote, "Jacqueline exemplified the spirit of learning and service that is the hallmark of our TW community. She lived her life with a desire to serve others through her interest in nutrition." End quote. May Jackie be remembered as the warm, vibrant, enthusiastic person her friends and family describe her to be, because in the end, Jackie's life, impact, and story matter. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.